All right. Are we working? Doesn't look like my. Is my audio coming through? Oh, and hold on a second. I was playing around with my. We're gonna get rid of those. Get rid of those icons there. I was just playing around with that. Okay. All right. I didn't actually do an audio test beforehand, so I'm pretty sure I'm coming through. I can hear myself in my headphones. Someone wants to say anything in chat, just let me know. All right, anyway, so what we're going to be doing today, so I'm doing another snip. If you caught my last stream. So producing a snip for tech snips. Okay, thank you, Veronica. Appreciate it. So let me bring this over here. The one today is, of course, I was very prepared. Okay, here we go. Let me just bring this over here. So how to get notified when a user is added to an Active Directory group. So I did a short amount of. Is it just me? Is there no audio? Is there no audio? Veronica said there was. I can hear myself. I don't know. There's audio. Okay. So Adam, you just screwed something up apparently. I actually don't know how to. I'm looking at. Oh, I can watch myself, right? I can watch myself. Let's go to my stream. All right, anyway, while I'm just waiting for that to load. So how to get notified when a user is added to an Active Directory group. There's a couple of ways to do this. I was doing a little research just ahead of time so I would sound like I know what I'm talking about. And I came across an article that's on the TechNet Wiki looking at the event logs on the domain controller. That's one way to do it. You can also, what I was thinking initially is actually just polling or tracking group memberships in a CSV file and then comparing it as you go along. And honestly, I couldn't think of one being better than the other. The only thing about tracking it through the event logs on the domain controller is that you will need to make sure that auditing is enabled. I don't know if it is by default. Oh yeah, unmute. Okay, sweet. So I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole of the first idea I was looking at, just grabbing group memberships, storing it in a CSV file, and then ultimately comparing that at each step along the way. So, and then since this is a demo, we're doing a snip, remember. So I'm gonna be building this script like I'm gonna be explaining it to somebody. So I'll have regions and whatnot, and we'll go through that as well. So first thing we'll need to do is, of course, specify what group memberships we want to monitor. So I'm gonna say groups, just to start with, we're gonna be looking at the domain admins group. That seems to be a pretty popular group to be monitoring group changes in, at least as far as I can tell. So of course, getting group memberships is as simple as using the just get AD group member. Actually, I'm going to rename that groups right now to just be group. And we'll go down and throw in a for each loop here in a minute. So get AD group member groups. And so if we, actually, hold on a second. I like to save these before we get started. Commit. Okay, so get AD group member. One of the unfortunate things is I actually develop outside of the demo Active Directory environment. And you know what? I can't remember if I was zoomed in or not from before, so I'll zoom in a little bit. because that looks a little better. So my local machine is not part of the domain environment that we'll be looking at today. We've got that lab separated out. So I'm going to run through and kind of build what we're going to work on, build the script, and then we'll connect over to the domain controller and actually do some testing. So get AD group member lists out the groups. Actually, you know what? I said we're going to wait to connect into the domain environment. We're going to do it right now. So one of the perks of having a shared domain environment, shared lab environment at TechSnips is we get people that leave some stuff open sometimes. So I'm going to save this just as unknown. Oh my goodness, and whoever was connected and had a different keyboard layout. So here's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to disconnect and then re-log in here. Unless I can just change the layout. No, I can't. Okay. Fun fact, I actually use an alternate keyboard layout. Let's see. There we go. Okay, perfect. All right, so now that we've jumped that hurdle, get the IC launched. Some of this stuff is pretty boring, in case you're wondering. All right, so I'll get this stuff pasted and get zoomed in. I could do 200. Okay, or sorry, 200 exactly, not 205, not 195, 200 exactly. And I've got the demo region and the clean region. This is just so, like for instance, this clean. I can clean up the prompt. So one of the Snip guidelines for submitting a Snip is to have a prompt as short as possible. And then this throw at the beginning, if I hit F5 instead of F8, it just stops the script instead of running through, because this is a demo, remember? So we're going to be going through things step by step under our control, not all at once. All right, so I believe if we just go ahead and run our group, get 80 group members. So we only have one member here. So if we were to store this in a CSV file, which is what I'm thinking, and obviously there's other ways to do it, like we were talking about the events earlier. We're going to use the SAM account name or the distinguished name. We could probably do both. SAM account name will be a little shorter, and it's actually still unique. So what we want to do is to let's see, convert to a savable. I don't know if savable is a word. Object. It makes sense in this context. So we want to say for each group in get AD group member group, and of course for multiple groups this would be nested inside of another for each group. So for each group we're going to say actually sorry, I'm thinking through my head here. The output object I want is going to be an object with a property of a group name and then an array. Okay, so actually what we'd want to do is say, let's see, PS custom object. Here, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here in just a second. Or I'm showing you right now, actually. So we want to say group name equals, let's see, so group in this case, and then members. So this is going to be a string array equals null. Okay, this isn't really going to work unless I actually do the nested for each now. So I'm going to do the nested for each now. So we're going to say, oh, yeah, actually, no, it will. Sorry, I just making this more complicated than it needs to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an array of members equal that, and say members plus equals for each, instead of group, that was very confusing. For each member in get AD group member group, members plus equals member dot SAM account account name, and then what we're gonna do here now, and there we go, members. Okay, so that should make sense. So then if we run this, we should now get members of tech snips. Okay, so let's, what I want to do is I want to find all of the groups. Oh crap, there's of course a lot of default groups. I always forget about that. Want to find a group. Oh, domain users. That's one. That's a good one that has a lot of members. Because what I want to do is I want to just make sure and test to make sure this actually works for multiple users as well. Okay, so that's what we wanted. So then if we say out, sorry, just doing some on the fly testing here. We should say be able to say out dot members and get an. Okay, cool. That's what we wanted. And so we now get our savable object. And so last step we would need to do is to export it to CSV. So actually I'll put that out back and say export to CSV. I want to say out, export CSV. Let's just go C users. Really? There we go. Desktop. ED group memberships. Oh my goodness, can't type. Alright, .csv. And actually, because I hate hard coding that, we're gonna go CSV path. Oh, no, not equals. We'll make the CSV path equals, and of course put quotes around it. And so then we can also say dot CSV path. Okay, I want to make sure that this form. Oh, that's what I was afraid of. System dot object. Okay, so a little more complicated than I expected. Maybe okay. So let's actually try something a little different. Let's go instead of declaring that as an array, we're going to say specifically string array. Does that work? I might just be trying something that's absolutely ridiculous and stupid. But, you know what? You never know unless you try, right? Okay. Nope, that did not work. Or, let's see. Let's make sure it's actually overwriting it. Ah, it is. Okay. That's unfortunate. So the other thing we could do if we want to stick to using a CSV file, which is what I'm thinking, is for each member. Yeah, we could do this. It would be a little more coding, unless, well, we could build a custom string and split it with commas. That would be a little complicated. Or we could, for each member, we could have an object. So we could say, so we could say out equals, so we could say out plus equals PS custom object, group name equals group, member equals member. So this way, we will get, and I'll clean up all these comments once we get this the way we want it. So this way we get, oh hold on, did I forget? Okay, member.sam account name. All right, let's try that again. I did forget that. All right, so this way, what we'd have to do, I guess we had to decide if we want to have a massive CSV like this. I guess we'll run with it this way. We can always come back if we don't like it, even though I already kind of don't like it because it is a little more complicated than it needs to be, but it works, and that's kind of what matters right now. Okay, so here is, let's see, grabbing memberships of a group. We'll call that region something that makes sense. And then region comparing memberships. So let's, because the ultimate goal here is we want to be able to alert when there's a change in membership. So comparing memberships. So let's say, so actually we're going to do this the easy way. We're going to, instead of editing Active Directory, we're going to pretend like Bob Dolina is suddenly, no, we're going to add somebody in actually. Yeah, here, this is what we'll do. So we're going to say that some, and we'll be nice here, hacker person got into and added themselves into the domain users group. Even though that doesn't really do a lot, well, I guess it allows them to log into our workstations. And so what we want to do is we want to, well, hold on a second. I'm confusing myself here. They didn't actually add him. So this is actually the authoritative copy of group memberships for a group. So let's just say if we had a user that was removed from it, we would be able to find that, and then as well as we'll make a new user real quick. Let's see, new AD user. We'll call it membership test, just so we know to remove it when we need to. Okay, so now we've created a scenario where we've had a user that was added to it, and we've removed a user as well. And I'm kind of confusing myself even a little bit. So let's actually write the code where we can back this up and demonstrate the differences. Okay, so we have our group still, and I'm gonna type it out. No, I'm not gonna type it out because then I'd have to edit it in 2 spots. Okay, so we have our group. So we want to say get 80 group memberships again, or get 80 group member, sorry, for our group. And if we do that, so you can now see we have a membership test. The user I just added in. And so what we want to do is, well, of course, there's a number of ways we could do it, as there always is. But in this case, I'm going to build, it isn't here my neighbor's talking. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to build that same object, but I'm going to call it compare. Or, wow, that's going to be kind of confusing, actually. Let's say, let's see. I'm trying to think of a way to name these. Of course, I'm getting stuck up on the really important things, or names of variables. Okay, we'll call this one compare. Okay, so compare instead of out. Why did I even call that out before? Because it's the output. So we'll leave it as out. I'll keep trucking here. Okay, so compare. So we're going to get a group. Got the same group. So now we should be able to see that compare. Okay, so compare and actually the first thing we can do is we can just say compare.count and say out.count, and we can see right away that there's one difference at least. At the same time, membership test. Let's see, compare. No. Let's see, out. Oh, except actually, we didn't. We're looking at the variable when instead we need to be saying authoritative or previous memberships equals import CSV, because we need to be. We don't want to be comparing to that variable, because in reality, this end script is going to be importing that CSV every time it runs. Okay, so previous memberships, so this makes a little more sense anyway. So import CSV from before. Let's see, build same similar object. Okay, and then so what I'm envisioning here is let's see. So we still know what groups we're comparing. So we have one group. This is starting to get a little confusing. So I'm, instead of testing one group, but actually wanting to make this work for multiple groups, I'm going to say domain admins as well. Or should I? No. Sorry. Going back and forth on how we want to do this. And this will all make sense when we get to the end of it. Or at least I sure hope it will. All right, so we got our previous memberships here. We're building our custom object again. Okay, so let's go ahead and import previous memberships. And if we go previous memberships, and this is where, if I remembered how to use the compare object commandlet, this would probably be a good one for that. Okay, so 19, okay, that's what we were hoping here. And then if we go compare, dot count is 21. Cool, we added one. Did we take one out? I think we took one out of the CSV file as well. Okay. If you don't watch and remembers how to use compare object, see reference difference. Okay, so let's try that. Compare objects, reference is previous, difference is compare. Aha. Okay, so compare has two additional ones. Okay, let's say compare dot input. Okay, so we want dot input. Okay, so that's not showing as a property, so we'll look at the properties. It isn't property. What the heck? Okay, so those are going to be the differencing ones. I wonder. I don't use compare object enough to run with that. So what if we were to let's see. So we've got our two objects again, compare, and so for each, okay, so we want to filter through for each group and figure out which ones are in which. But that would just be, okay, so maybe it's a good time for me to learn how to use compare object. The things you force yourself to do because it's the right way to do them. Okay, so compare object dot input object. I believe that let's look at the help here. That the help, it should have two. Let's see, compare object compares two objects, reference difference. Yep. Or if the include equal, okay. If indicates whether property value appeared only in the object from the reference set, indicated by the left point and the right point. Okay. So, all right, so that makes sense. So then if, oops. Okay, so for each of those, group name and member. Okay, so it's indicating, so if it's on the right, indicating that it was in the differencing object, which is compare, which should have text snips test and membership test. So compare should have membership test and text snips, and previous memberships should not, but it does anyway. Give me a second here, I just got a text message. Oh. My wife's sending me a picture of my daughter. She's very cute, by the way. Okay, so that's kind of strange because the compare object output shows that text snips tests is only on one of them, but in reality it's on both. Okay, let's see. So I said compare object previous and compare. So that's what I thought. Previous memberships does have domain users, and compare also has text snips test. Okay, so why is that? Am I missing something? Okay, so no, it's Or is it just looking at the count? So maybe it doesn't work as well as I thought it did. Okay, so we're going to assume that it doesn't work as well as I thought it did. Okay, so for each, okay, so we're only looking at one group, so we know that that object only has memberships from one group. So for each previous member in previous memberships. And if anyone has recommendations on a better way for doing this, always open to suggestions here. So if, so for each member in the previous memberships, what I'm saying is if the current membership, so if, oh, actually we're gonna call that current memberships. That's gonna make a lot more sense. There we go. Okay, so if current memberships dot member contains, or no, not contains previous, yeah, that's lowercase, previous member. See, memberships is that same, so dot member. All right, so if the current does not contain what was in it previously, then we want to say, and right now I'm going to use a right host here. We're going to say right host. Let's see, double actually. So current, or no, not contains. So if the previous member is not currently in, then we want to say previous member dot member was added. Yes, if I can get that correctly. I believe that is correct. Current membership does not contains what wasn't, oh sorry, was removed. I'm just going crazy here apparently. All right, so if right host, all right, no, sorry, right host. So then what we'll do is we'll have, I'll build two objects here, but for now what I want to say is for each, let's see, current member and current memberships. So basically the same exact thing, but we're doing it with reverse. So if previous memberships dot member not contains current member dot member. We want to say right host, let's see, current member. So basically this user was then added, Okay, so what we should see, well, instead of saying what we should see, let's see what we do see. All right, so we used to see text snips was added and membership test was added. We know the membership test was added. Text snip was added because I believe I removed that. I did remove that from the previous memberships. Okay, so what happens if we then remove something? Okay, so then, okay, was added. Okay, so then just a little line and scratch here. We're going to say current memberships, export CSV path. Oh, is that that's not auto-completing? Excuse me. And typically that would be inside of VS Code. Variable names are important. Yes. Variable names are very important because they help you remember where you're at and what you're doing. Let's see. CSV path. Let's see. No type information and force. Okay. So current. Okay. So now if we were to remove 80 user membership test confirm false. So we've removed membership tests. So now we should see that a user was removed because I exported our current membership that we had just a minute ago. And we're going to rerun this. So membership test was removed. Okay, cool. So that's all of the code. Let's see. So now we're going to say check for members that were removed. And check for members that were added. Bam. Okay. So the next thing, so comparing memberships, we want to import. So okay. So the next thing, well, so I guess one thing I'll have to do here for this demo is when I actually record it, is to figure out a way to add and remove. Oh, I'll just use my membership test user and create a new user while we're doing that. Okay. So grabbing memberships, comparing memberships. So then, of course, the last thing we want to do is make it a reusable function. I say that, but because I love reusable functions. But is this actually a case where it should be a reusable function? Maybe it should just be a script file. Questions. Pros of reusable functions is they're reusable, and you could run it on demand a lot freaking easier. We're gonna do functions. I like functions. We're just gonna do functions. Okay, so we're gonna say functions. So the long-term goal here is to run the script as a scheduled task, and so then we don't have to worry about the script managing the time span. So if you want to run it every hour, you set a scheduled task, not in the script. At least that's how I'm going to accomplish actually monitoring it, actually turning this into a monitor. I guess is the proper phrase there, because if we bring up, and I always like to remind myself of what the card says, how to get notified when a user is added to an Active Directory group. So this is when it is added. I think a better title there is when it membership changes. That's what we're gonna operate on. And the description here, this is something I actually wrote. So it's not necessarily along the lines of. It's how I imagined it. So just because I wrote it doesn't mean I can't also change it, right? So let's swing back around here. Whoop. And okay, so we're gonna make a function here. Okay, so we're gonna say compare. You know, I'm sitting here writing this out, and I'm thinking maybe it would actually be better as a script instead of a function. Crap. Well, I got to decide one and get going. So we're gonna start as a function and see how far we get before we decide that maybe it would be better as a script. Okay, so parameters. We want to take group names, of course. So we want to say string array. Since this isn't going to be really a good pipeline command, I'm not going to worry about trying to make this work on the pipeline. I say that now. That might change. We'll find out. Which makes sense. Would be just a function or just a script. It's a great question. So if I write it as a script, then, well, let me back up. So just answering Veronica's question there. So it'll be a script either way, if that makes sense. So if I write it as a function, then I'll have to have the function in the top of the script and then use the function underneath. Yeah, use the function at the end of the script to actually do what we want. So let me show you here. Let me see if we can piece this together real quick. So group names, and then let's see, string is going to be our CSV path. And we'll skip all the other parameter stuff for now. And you know, we're gonna begin. Man, I always like just using begin process and instead in case we end up wanting to use it on the pipeline. So I'm just gonna piece these in here for right now. All right, so begin. So we want to say copy paste. Okay, previous member. No, it's not like I couldn't type this out, right? Okay, so previous memberships. Busy process. Okay, so then current memberships. So this is gonna be where we use our for each group. For each group in group names. Okay, then for each group in group names, we're going to say, or wait a second. Current memberships equals. We need to get this in there as well. Let's see. Whoop. Hit page down instead of end. Okay, so for each member in Giddy. Okay, so this is. So we need to do 2 for each group in group names. No, that's not true. For each. So current memberships. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Because the CSV path could have any number of groups in it that we ran from before, but I'm running this function as if it'll work with any groups, which let me demonstrate to make that make sense. So for each member in, okay, so we want to say, okay, I'm gonna stop confusing myself. We're gonna get rid of that code. So first of all, previous groups is something we need to determine. Previous groups equals, let's see, because we don't want to assume that all the groups specified in the group. Nope. I'm not sure what array it is, but something's going on. All right, anyway, we don't want to assume that all the groups in the previous membership CSV path are actually, sorry, let me back up. So we don't want to assume that all group names specified in the group names variable are also already in that CSV path. So we want to say previous memberships dot, let's see, how are we defining that CSV again? Let's see, group name dot group name. Let's see, we're going to say select object dash unique. And I believe what this will do, if we actually were to run that, okay, so yeah, that's what we wanted. Select object dash unique, so we're just passing the group name. All right, so previous groups. Okay, then what we want to say is for each group in, or no, we can, so what I was going to do here is for each group in group names. I'm actually doing good to respond to the chat here. I don't know if you guys can actually hear me or not, but this is my second stream here. I'm not even sure what a raid is. Anyway, or if you guys can even hear me. Maybe not. There is a setting for turning raids on or off, and I left it at the default of turned on. Okay. So what I was going to do here for each group and group names, I wanted to make sure that that group is also in the previous groups. Oh, sweet. Brings their viewers to host others. Oh. Oh, sweet. Thanks for explaining that. I appreciate it. Sweet. So then I'll just leave it turned on for now. You guys like PowerShell? Stick around. Yeah, we're running through monitoring group memberships in Active Directory. So I'm building a function to kind of compare what we've already got, save what we've already got in whatever groups we want, and then compare it as time goes on to ultimately proper prof. I'm working. That's why I've got my nice clothes on. All right. Let's see. We're gonna keep trucking here. For each group and group names. So one of the things I wanted to do here is to be sure that our, let's see, previous memberships, so that's what we saved from before. We want to make sure that all the group names that we're specifying now are still in that CSV, and for each of them that aren't, kind of specify that they aren't, but I believe we can actually do this further down. So we're gonna get rid of that. Okay, so for each group and group names, the first, this is PowerShell. So it's hey, thanks guys for dropping in. If you guys like PowerShell, you can always come back. It's a scripting language versus like a programming language, more for like administrator kind of stuff. All right, so anyway, so for each so for each group, the first thing we want to do is say that if, so for each group and group name, so these are the ones passed to the function. So if let's see, previous groups not contains, let me actually, sorry, I'm kind of stickler when it comes to uppercase and lowercase. That's what I get for learning in C++, apparently. Okay, so if previous groups not contains group, so if that group isn't already, so PowerShell, I'm assuming you're asking what PowerShell is. So it's a language built on .NET, specifically with the intention of managing some Microsoft's server product. Well, I shouldn't say server products. Basically, anything Microsoft can be managed with PowerShell. So my background is as a systems administrator, and so I can use PowerShell to manage things like Active Directory, which is Microsoft's identity management system. And so, yeah, and so what I'm looking at here today specifically is I'm building a demo for demonstrating how to monitor memberships in a group in Active Directory, and I also contribute to a website called TechSnips, where we build demos to share with other folks. And so this is why I'm actually building the script as a demo instead of just a script. But here at the end of this, we'll convert this to a script just to finish the demo to actually see it in action, if that makes sense. So, but just because it's a scripting language that I'd say is specifically meant for administering Microsoft products, it has a lot of other use cases as well outside of that. But that's a little out of scope for what we're working on right here. But I can't answer any of the questions if you've got them. Well, I can answer any question, right? But it may not be the correct answer. All right, so yeah, essentially, though I can't say that my bash foo is very very strong. I know just a touch of bash, but yeah, essentially, I would say that's a good comparison if you're coming from the Unix world. And yes, the chats are showing on the stream this time, so don't have to reference it. Okay. So back to what we're working on, unless you got anything else. Let's see. So for each group and group names, if previous group does not contain, what we want to do is write verbose. Actually, yes, we're gonna enable verbosity here. So specify commandlet binding. Or say write verbose, and specifically here, let's see, so group, no historical data. That sounds really proper. Maybe I'll change that and make it a little lighter than no historical data for group. All right, so if it doesn't contain groups, then there's no historical data for groups, so there's no point in reporting on it. So the next thing we want to do, so if it does contain group, got another notification on my phone. Oh, it's an email. If it does contain group, then what we want to do is we want to run through and look at the group memberships and compare them, of course. So let's see, so current membership equals, let's see, so we've got the current memberships. Did we grab the current memberships? No, we didn't. Okay, so group, okay. All right, so I'm going to copy this down from before. So else current memberships, whoops. Okay, so current memberships equals for each member and get a member group. So I'm building that object. Ooh. Actually, oh, this is a tough one. Because I want to have one big object in current memberships, not just a bunch of little objects. So if I do this inside of the for each group, then for each group, it's going to make this current membership, and then I'm not going to be able to, oh, I could export and append. That's what I can do. Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting, but you know, I also have a direct usage for this. But yeah, hey, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I probably will be streaming later this week. It's what one. It's currently what 1:46 in the afternoon for me, so it'll probably be about this time. We'll see. I haven't gotten on a schedule yet. I'm still working on that. Okay. So the problem here, current memberships should be one big object. Here's what we can do. Current memberships. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. This might be my wife. Oh, it is. I'm going to put you guys on mute for just a second. I'll be right back. All right, just needed to see if I needed anything from Best Buy. No idea why she's going, but she said she was going to go. Okay, so current memberships. So a problem is, so previous memberships is a listing of all our groups and all our group memberships. Current memberships should also be the same thing. Previous groups. Ooh, so I guess another question we have to actually answer here is if we want all of our previous groups to carry over. So if they're not specified in the group names. Okay, so this is getting to the point where I'm actually thinking that a function is not necessarily the best way to do this. It's getting a little more complicated than I expected it to, but complicated functions aren't bad. As long as it does the thing it's supposed to do and it does it well. Oh, here I'm thinking about it as I'm talking. We could say, and this might clear up what I'm thinking here, remove unused previous groups. Switch. I'm gonna say bool. I like bool equals because then I can do this. Set a default value for it. Okay. So remove unused previous groups. So I'm gonna set that to false. And what I'm gonna set that to true. I like true a little better. So what I'm gonna say is previous groups. So if sorry, I'm thinking here. I should probably think out loud since we are live streaming. So what I'm thinking here is if the previous groups, so that CSV file. So for instance, let's look at it right now because that'll help me think through this. So right now, this CSV file has just domain users from before. So if I were to run that compare, let's see, compare. Let's say 80 group memberships. NetBeans. It is not NetBeans. I'm actually not familiar with what NetBeans is. I've heard that before. All right. All right, so if we were to run this, and it only has domain users in that CSV file, then, and the group names did not also contain that. So if you don't specify group names, remove it equals true. So we're gonna remove things that we're not currently specifying. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna assume that we're gonna remove them. I'm gonna leave that true. So actually, let's do that now. So previous groups equals previous memberships dot group name. So here. So the first thing we want to do is, this might be getting way too complicated though, a little more than I thought. So first thing we want to do, so if I was going to go through and actually remove all the groups from the previous groups. Maybe it would be better to walk through. Wow, doing like questioning halfway through what you're working on, if it's actually good or not. Well, I think we can make this work actually. So previous groups equals previous memberships got group names. So that's the groups from the CSV file for each. Let's see, group in. Actually, we want to put this in an if statement. So if remove unused previous groups. Let's see. Okay, so then for each group in previous groups, if let's see. So if group, sorry, I'm thinking at the same time of how we're actually going to remove them. So if group, if group names not contains group, then we want to. I'm commenting this so I know where I'm going here. So remove group from previous memberships. Removing objects from arrays can get kind of complicated, which is what. Oh, actually. Okay, no, I'm making this way too complicated than it needs to be. Okay, so this is actually really easy. So previous memberships equals, just needed a moment of inspiration. So previous memberships equals previous memberships where, I'll have nice get here and actually type it out. So where, so that custom object is group name. So where group name does not equal, and so the group we're removing, if remove for each group, it does not equal group. Okay, so I think that's going to work. To test it, here we're going to set remove unused group. Oh, I didn't need to do that. Okay, so previous groups, do I have, so we have previous memberships, previous groups, and so previous groups, domain user, excuse me. I'm actually going to output a couple of well, we could probably, we'll do some testing on this when we finish it. Let's just get it running. Where object is not equal group. So let's say if, so group names is nothing right now. Okay, so if group names not contains, and it doesn't contain group because group names contains nothing. Let's see, for each group in previous groups. So if we run this, we should, now previous memberships should equal nothing. Okay, it does. Okay, perfect. That's what we wanted. Okay, sweet. So remove unused previous groups equals true. Otherwise, we will have to add previous memberships. Ooh, that's a good point. Otherwise, we'll have to add it in. Oh, that's an interesting point. If we want to keep them, we'll have to add them back in at the end. So, okay, so for each group in previous groups is groups. Okay, so actually, else skipped. Ah, okay, so we're gonna cheat here. We're actually gonna build another object. So what I'm thinking here is, so for the groups that are in the CSV that we want, if we're gonna remove them, that's what line 81 there is gonna do. Otherwise, we're gonna keep them and save group for later. So skip groups plus equals, actually we're gonna say skip group memberships, since this was gonna use that, let's see, that same object type from, well, not type, but object style, custom object style from before. So skip group memberships plus equals previous memberships where object group name equal, I really hate that in caps. Is it supposed to be in caps? I don't know. I'm gonna put it in lowercase because that's what I usually do. We're in the equals group. Okay. So then what we'll have to do is at the end, actually, what we'll have to do is at the end, so we'll do it at the end. So if, So remove, so if we're not removing, okay, so if we're not remove unused previous groups, so if that's false, then what we'll do is we'll say current memberships plus skipped memberships Okay, there we go. And then, of course, at the end, we will be exporting current memberships to CSV. Did I say path or file path? Page up error. CSV path. Okay, CSV path. Okay, no type information. Forced override. Okay. All right, if removed. Okay. So that clears up that. So this block from 74 to what 87. This is doing all the work we need to do if a group that was saved before is not being referenced now, and whether or not we want to actually remove it. Okay, that was a little easier than I thought. I guess I like to make things more complicated, but it's okay. We'll get there. All right, so then. For each group in group name, so if previous group does not have group, so no historical data. Otherwise, if it does, okay, so we're back to our problem where, we're back to my problem where current memberships is going to, current memberships plus equals. Wonder if I can. Because even if previous groups doesn't, so even if this group each group that we're going through, even if that isn't from before, we still want it in current memberships. So here's what we'll do. Current memberships equals, so we'll still say no historical data because that's important. And then, okay, here we go. For each member in, oh, did I cut that? I meant to just copy that. Okay. And for each member, actually, no, if we're going to be going through and doing that for either of them, that doesn't matter, or does it? So if previous groups contains groups, actually, no, we are going to want that there. Because we're going to have to do the comparison separately. So what I was thinking is we can just do one for each. So have an if it contains, write that verbose, and then afterwards, say for each member. But I'm going to have actually two of them, since in the else statement we're also, here I'll just comment this out, also do comparing as well. So current memberships plus equals, all right, cool. Okay, so now let's actually get the comparing done. So for each member in group, so we're specifically in that group, so then what we want to say, I'm actually just going to copy these straight out of there. And it's not going to work at first. We're going to tweak this slightly. Okay, so for each member, so each in previous membership, where object group name equals group, because we're working inside of our for each group and group name here. Okay, cool. So that would make sense. I'm just going to copy that little sucker and also say in current memberships, we're going to do the same thing. If previous memberships, okay, so that's actually only kind of going to work, because if current memberships dot member, so what we want to do is specify, this is getting a little more complicated again. Okay, so I got an idea. So we're going to say all, I'm going to have one overarching object, and then when we get to the for each, okay, perfect. For each group, so we're going to say, okay, this is going to make, here, I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Current memberships All right, so current memberships plus equals. Okay, so then at the end of our, and this is where the people that have the end for each loop is, that comes in handy, and I am not doing that apparently. Okay, so we're going to say all current memberships plus equals current memberships. Bam. Okay, so that's going to work for that. So then we don't need to change our current memberships structure internally, and then we also don't need to use this where object commandlet either. So current memberships, so previous memberships. So I'm going to say previous group memberships equals, see, current membership, oh, no. So previous memberships were object. Okay, and so then instead of filtering here, I'm going to say previous group memberships. So maybe what I should do here, I'm gonna rename this variable here so this makes more sense for me. All previous memberships, previous groups, okay, so all current. Previous memberships. Let's see, previous. Okay, so previous member. So this should still work. So for each current member, so current memberships we don't have to filter because that is only the current ones. So if previous memberships dot member not contains current member, okay, right host rand is added. Okay, boom. Okay, so end if. All right, so that should all work because we got it working from before. So if we aren't removing unused previous groups, and I'm saying current, so this needs to be updated to all current memberships equals all plus skipped group memberships, and then it's going to export that to CSV force. Okay, so I think I've got this to the point where we can actually test this. So I'm going to add that in, of course, make sure it actually works. Compare 80 group memberships. So group names, we're going to look at domain users because we have that already. CSV path equals CSV path. Membership test was removed, but now if we rerun it, it should have, all right, cool. So it should have actually added in membership, or membership test was removed. Okay. So let's actually do some testing now. Actually, before we go, let me comment this out so this actually makes more sense as we go. Comments are always good. I do them for me, but it's always good if someone else reads your code as well. Let's see, import previous memberships. Store all groups from, let's see, okay. So if we are going to remove previous groups, oh, wait a second. Oh, I think it actually made a major logic error here. So if remove unused previous group, so if that's true for each group, okay. So actually what we wanted, so what's going to happen here is if we're removing all unused previous groups, they won't actually add anything into skip group memberships, because what I'm assuming is we're going to save that group for later and we're not going to be removing it, but we're inside of this if statement. So what I want to do, let's see. So if group names not contains the current group, so we're removing it. Bam. So if it freeze group, confusing myself with my own code. Okay, so for each group, pull it from the CSV file. If this is really good actually. If I'm talking, let's see, to 5 people, if you're actually listening, but it's helping me actually explain what I'm working on. So if the group name is not contains group, so if the current set of groups is not currently stored in the previous file, we're going to remove it. Okay. Otherwise, if remove unused, that's true. I'm not sure why I did this actually. I tried commenting this out. Okay, so let's run this with a couple of options here to see. Domain admins. Okay, so we should see. Oh, I should have specified verbose. Because what it should have done is it should have told us that there was no historical data for domain admins, because we didn't do that from before. But if we look at CSV path, we should now have domain admins. And so now, if we run our command again, there we go, domain users, and we want to say remove unused previous groups, true. So it should now remove domain admins from our CSV file path, and it did. So now let's put it back in. Okay, so now it should have domain admins, yeah, down at the bottom, you can see that. And so then, we're removing it this time, and is this getting lost? Here it is. Okay, so let's see, false. So we're specifying domain users, but the file has domain users and domain admins. So we're saying that remove unused previous groups is false, meaning we should still have domain admins in there, and it does not, because that doesn't work, and I was right. Okay. Okay, so if remove unused previous groups, for each group, if group name does not contain I'm actually going to restructure this a little bit. So I'm going to go through for each group. If group names not contains group, and then inside of here is where I'm going to say if remove unused previous groups. Aha. Okay, this is going to look a little better. Else. All right, else skip groups. All right, cool. Remove group. Save it for later. All right, so now if we run this function, well, load it back into our session. All right, so we just got domain users. So I'm going to say, let's look at domain users, domain admins. And this time, if I say verbose, we should say no historical data for domain admins. That's perfect. So now we have domain admins in there. And so now if we do compare, actually, I'm just gonna use my history here. Okay, so domain user, domain admins, domain users, remove false. So it should still have domain admins in there, and it does. Okay. But if we were to run that and say true, well, it's true by default. I guess I didn't need to specify it. And then look at our CSV path again. Okay. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense now to me. I hope it makes more sense to you. But let's get some more verbosity in here. Since we're using it, right, verbose. If removing, let's see, removing group from CSV file. Okay. Let's see, group what? That needs to be the variable was not in group names. All right. So that should make a little more sense when we run it for those things that happen. So write verbose, no historical data. Write verbose. Comparing memberships for group. Okay, so previous memberships. Check for members that were removed. If, let's see. I'm going to move this to a verbose. Or should we? Yes, I'm going to move it to a verbose for now. I might come back and change that. The idea being here that this isn't going to be run where output's going to be very important. I'll put that back. Planning on running this from a scheduled task. And so, yeah, we'll leave right verbose was added, was removed. So all memberships. Okay, so else if. Okay, so the next thing, so that's going to write verbose. It's going to log the changes, but is it going to be notifying anybody? Because that's, so remember I am doing this with the ultimate goal of submitting a snip for tech snips, for those of you that may not have been listening right from the beginning. So we want to get notified. So that's the next part, is to get notified. So we can write to a log file, and that's, pretty common for writing a scheduled task, at least from what I've done. Or we could send an email. We don't have, I don't believe we have an SMTP relay inside of our environment that will actually work. So, and I would have to demo this to actually notify. So what we'll have to do is to specify, that's actually an interesting dilemma. Oops. Well, compare these group memberships. So if, because we're now monitoring for changes. We just need to notify. So obviously we'd use send a mail message, but without an SMP relay to use, at least in this environment, this would be the next best thing. We'd have to build, we could build an HTML file and then ultimately email that. So let's do this. Email, oh, no, string. So if we want to specify an email recipient to get notified via email, or do we want to get notified via log file? I'm going to say notified via email. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to build a list. So if this is notify, so what we'll do, I'm not gonna get super fancy and write a pretty HTML report here. I'm gonna leave that to someone who would want to see that prettier. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is build an email string to ultimately email. Okay, so yes, one long string, not an array of strings. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, okay, so email, did I call that email string or email? I believe it called it email string. Okay, perfect. So email string plus equals, let's see, so we're gonna say previous member was removed from, let's see, we're still inside of that for each group, yeah, for each group from group. And then the new line inside of a string for PowerShell is this backtick n. So if there was someone removed, was added, not from group, but to group. Okay, so then, of course, at the end, we're going to want to say send mail message. Let's see, SMTP server. We'll put an SMTP server in here as well. And leave this blank. Okay, I want to say SMTP server. From, we're going to say notifications. Oh, that's a good point. We probably want to figure out what the user domain is. Let's see. Oh, we can do it inside of the string here. So we're going to pull an environmental variable. Let's see. There is a user domain, right? I think that's what it is. It's not computer domain. Oh, but not, there's not a domani. All right, let's get that actually typed out. Okay, text snips at, oh, but that doesn't get the, that's not a fully qualified domain name. But we are working inside of Active Directory. So this will be running as a domain user, so we're going to get the same domain as user domain equals. So if we said, let's see, user text snips. Oh, yeah, we can just use, okay. Perfect. Okay, actually, we're going to assume, we're going to use the email address from the user. From, let's see, get AD user, username, properties email address. Oh, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to specify that in a splat to make this look a lot better. Okay, SMTP server equals SMTP server from equals to equals email recipient. That's what I said, right? For the, I'm going back up here, email recipient, yeah, okay. To email equals email recipient. What other properties do we have? Oops, no attachments. BCC body. Oh yeah, body. Email string. Is it message subject or subject for? Yeah, it's just subject. Okay. Let's see. 80 group comparison report. 80 group monitoring report. Okay. All right. So send me a message. Boom. Okay. We're gonna say at email splat. Okay. And since this isn't gonna work for me, since I don't have an SMTP server, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna output the email string. And then I almost just hit F5 because I'm used to working on one function in one session here. So we should now be able to compare 80 group memberships, group names, domain users, domain admins. Cannot validate argument on path. See, this is where let me actually finish getting that drink. Give me a second. This is where, this is where I made the mistake of not actually specifying all the parameter properties yet. Because what I should be doing here is parameter mandatory equals true. And parameter false, true. Okay. So then, if we run that same command again, and then specify a CSV path of CSV path, the same one from before. And I don't know if you can hear that, but sometimes my mic picks up the radio. There we go, cleared it up. All right, so, but that didn't give us any verbose output because we didn't specify verbose. CSV path, why did I not do that? I gotta remember to do that. All right, CSV path. So we got domain admins. Okay, so now let's, without anything verbose comparing memberships for domain users for domain admins. Okay, good. So now we're gonna create a new AD user membership test. And so now if I create this new user and I do this comparison again, we should see that membership test was added, but it says TechSnips dash, what the heck? Okay, so I screwed something up. That was really dumb. Current, okay, wow. All right, so now this should work. Okay, so now we got nothing. Oh, and what we want to do here, of course, is we'll get rid of that for one. So if email string, so if there's actually something to send, we'll send an email. Otherwise, we're not going to. Okay, so we'll remove AD user membership test. You guys can say hello to the train in the background. Okay, now if we do compare with verbose, so we should get membership test was removed from domain users. I'm gonna do the unspeakable. Whoop. I'm gonna add a new user to the domain admins group. That's a terrible idea. But we're gonna do that to do a test here. Okay, so there we go. I wanted to make sure that email string was actually gonna be multiple lines. And the thing is, we could build a really nice HTML table, but that's kind of out of scope. But it's something someone watching could do if they wanted to take this and do the same thing. So now we got membership tabs. Okay, so let's remove AD user. Oh, forgot confirm flag. Oh, well. So now we should see was removed. Okay. Cool. So the last thing that we'd need to do is going over creating a scheduled task. The question, of course, is that in scope? And I believe it is. So what we'll do here is, so remember I'm building this as a demo for TechSnips. So what I'm going to do is then I would take this and I would make another script where I have this in the top. And then what I would say is in my script, I want to say CSV path equals C. All right, here, I'm going to use the same path as before. So can I just say CSV path? Apparently I'm too lazy to type that, so we're just going to copy paste it up here. All right, CSV path. Let's see, so group names. Oh, there's a space in domain admins. It's probably not a good idea to monitor domain users group. I mean, obviously, because that's going to be, you're going to get a lot of notifications every time a user is created or deleted. So group names. So then we want to say, group names, CSV path. Okay. And the last thing, there are other parameters as well. Remove unused previous groups. I'm gonna leave that set to true. Yeah, and I'll go over that when I actually record my demo. Let's see, email recipient. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to say email recipient me at techsnips.io. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to go back to splatting here because that actually solves two of our problems. Specifying our variables and having a long string. Let's see, compare splat. Oh, I'll take the S out of there. Okay, and we'll put the CSV path in there as well. And then of course we also want to say email recipient equals, say me at techsnips.io, since this is for TechSnips, and of course SMTP server equals, I don't know, what's SMTP dot server dot, or, and this isn't actually the address of our SMTP server. Ooh, sorry about that. At least, I mean, as far as I know. All right. So then we would say compare splat. Okay. So this is actually looks pretty good. Recipient, unused CSV path, group name. Okay. All right. Okay. So then if we were to hit F5 on this one instead of F8, CSV path, what? You gotta be kidding me, didn't I? Please supply. Oh, group names, supply values for the following parameters. Parity group memberships, CSV path. Did I? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, that's probably, oh, you know, I can see the whole thing again. No, that's, did I type that wrong? Let's see, CSV path. Mandatory equals true. Group names. Compare splat. Oh, okay, it's because I specified it as a variable. Not as a splat. Glad it was something. Oh, let me Control C out of here. I thought we could just leave that without that. Okay, so F5, boom. Okay. Let's see, dash verbose. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so compare spot. Yes, yeah. Thank you, Veronica. I did catch that eventually. Okay, so then the last thing. I do want to take just a quick moment here. We could set up some more parameter stuff here in the parameters. We could. Okay, we're going to actually. Oh, I always forget. No, maybe we're not, because I always forget how to do the syntax for validate stuff in PowerShell. Yeah, we're just gonna skip that and assume that the person's gonna type it correctly, or maybe we shouldn't. All right, and I'm gonna save this too. I should have done this actually a long time ago. Monitor group memberships. Okay. All right, so before I record the demo for TechSnips, I'm gonna run through this one more time. So we'll run our clean section. See, grabbing memberships of a group. So specifying a group, domain users, obviously get 80 group member, bam. Except I'm going to actually pipe that to format table and name. That'll make it look a little nicer. And then convert to a savable object. Let's see. I'm renaming these variables to actually be consistent all along the way. Oh, I'm getting some of that radio interference again on my mic. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but I can in my headphones, and it's kind of annoying. Okay. And let me make sure I'm not going to reference out. So we got current memberships again. Okay, sweet. Okay, so then make sure this stuff still works. So if we export it to our... Oh. I'm not sure why that happened. Okay, so CSV path. We're going to export it to there, and then look at it. We should see just domain users. We do. And then comparing memberships again. So previous memberships is going to be from that path. Oh, and then okay, cannot find an 80 member user called membership tests. Okay. Let's see. I'm actually going to write this right into the code. New 80 user. So we're going to create our user, and then we're going to get our current memberships for the group, which should now have membership test in it. And then for each previous member in previous memberships, if the current memberships.member not contains the old move, say it was removed or needing removed, but since we added that group in, membership test was added. Okay, cool. And then this function part, this is going to be, so the idea with snips, for everyone that's watching that isn't already producing snips, is that it needs to be fairly short and succinct. Well, maybe that's not the best description. It's got to be easy to follow, but short in the sense that it needs to show you how to do something, not all the 10 different ways you could do that one thing, but how to accomplish it in one regard. And so my function is kind of complicated for doing a text snip. Maybe if I'm gonna try organize this a little better. Variables. Import previous membership. So if I space this out, it might look a little better. Okay. Okay, actually, hold on a second. My microphone is picking up that radio. Oh, my office is up on the 4th floor, downtown Eugene. Wow, usually if I just tighten up the cord, it fixes it. Maybe this is what I get for using some old cables. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I don't think it's grounded properly. And this is an old building, so the electrical is actually not grounded, so I'm making it worse. All right, give me a second. I'm going to put you guys on mute. All right. There you go. Fix it. Okay. So back to trying to figure out if we want to, how we're going to explain this in a snipable format. So for each group and previous groups. So I think what I'm going to do for this section from 99 to 111 is just briefly mention that what this segment does is to, hard work you done there, don't waste it. Yeah, I know. Oh, actually, let me, and the script will, yeah, Veronica, that's a really good point. Explain the main points, and it'll be available on GitHub. That's one thing I always forget when I do my demos, is I try to explain it way too much sometimes. So yeah, to that point, sections like what we're doing here from 99 to 110, I'm just going to mention what it does, and maybe not get into how it does that. Because I can explain what the remove unused previous groups, what that is for, and that's accomplished there. Yeah, that's a really good point. I always need that reminder. And then our big for each. here for each group in group names. I could say that so building my current memberships object. So if that group wasn't in the CSV, then there's nothing to compare. So that's why we're saying no historical data. So that's why, actually, yeah, this is why I put some of these comments in here. Let's see, so rows comparing memberships. Okay, stuff to compare. Okay, perfect. So then, so previous memberships equals all memberships, where object group name equals group. So this, so that's actually pretty important. So I'll mention what that does. And then these two for each loops, they're exactly from before, except I have verbosity in there, as well as building that email string. So I'll mention the both of those segments. And then of course at the end, actually, you know, main points, this is actually going to be pretty simple to record as a snip. Okay, let me make sure I got check merge remove or added. Let's see, build our object to export. Let's see, and we'll have to mention that I can't actually demonstrate the email section because we don't have an SMTP server, which is why it's doing this write host, write verbose. I'm gonna do write verbose instead. Write verbose is so much better. Let's see. Okay, then then back again to the remove unused previous groups. So if we're not removing them, then we're adding them back in. That's what's happening there. All right, cool. And then of course exporting it. Bam. Okay, so then to demonstrate, because so typically if you've seen some of my snips, I typically will demonstrate how to use that in the same script below it. Excuse me. But what we're going to do here is we're going to build another file because we'll be running this other file from. Well, actually, hold on a second. I'm going to make sure the function's all up to date. But we're going to be building this other file because the idea with this snip is to run it as a scheduled task, right? And so I want to show what this file would look like if they were to run it as a scheduled task. All right. Sweet. I think we're good. Actually, I want to save this file. Let's see, 80 monitor group memberships, scheduled task. Okay, so I just want to make sure I've got them both saved. So the last thing that in the way that I kind of put these together is to, did I not copy it? There we go, is to save it. So I've got my GitHub repo. Oh, whoops, no, don't do that. Okay. Okay, I'll go to edit. Okay, and we'll switch back over here. And we'll get ready to do the demo. Okay, region, grabbing memberships of a group. Okay, cool. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I haven't seen another text snip with multiple files, but I'm pretty sure we can add them. We can actually look. Let's see. So, oh, that's another snip I was looking at. And another snip I was looking at. Man, I just love looking at snips. Let's see. Let's bring up portal.text. Oh, no, I actually saw it. Snip guidelines. So we've actually got all our guidelines for producing snips. And actually snip submission. This is where we've got the form. And let's see. Nope. I'm not gonna save that. Okay. Associated files. Drag files. Okay, I'm gonna assume that we can do multiple files. Oh, yeah, that's a good point about the verbose option there. Let me bring this back up. Yeah, actually, good point. I am gonna leave it there for the demo, just so I can run it and demonstrate how it works, and then be sure to mention that the verbose doesn't need to be there when running it as a scheduled task. Because what's verbose going to do in a scheduled task? You're absolutely right. It's not going to do anything. Okay. All right. So while I am whoa, actually, you know what I just realized? So I have been using OBS, and I just switched over to using Streamlabs for this live stream. Let's see, and so I haven't actually used Streamlabs to record before. So I'm gonna do a quick test to see if the recording still works. So I'm actually recording right now. Set path in settings output. I don't know where this is actually recording to. Let's find out. My other ones were going right to videos. 242. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And we should be good then. Okay. All right, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be disappearing here while I record the snip. And it might take me a couple of tries. I'm sounding really confident here while I record it once. That'll probably take me, I don't know, a few. We'll see. And I think on most of the times that I record it, I always screw up the first time or first couple of times while I figure out how to even the intro, because we gotta. The idea is to have a good intro, let the viewer know the kind of problems you're trying to solve, and then trying to make it relate to them. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to turn myself Oh, I apparently don't know what I'm doing. All right, can you guys hear me now? Holy mackerel, I just recorded that without any audio. If you guys can hear me, you should say something. Oh, no, it's coming through. I don't think it was coming through before. Ooh, that is really unfortunate. So I'm not... Oh, man. All right, well, it looks like we're going to be recording. That sucks. Let me bring up the settings here. Let's see, output. Let's see, streaming, recording. And no audio before. Ah, dang it. Oh, that sucks. Okay. Thank you for that. And it's also recording. It's also recording a really low, let's see, output resolution. Crap. I think I have to stop streaming briefly, change these settings, and then I will be right back because it's not letting me adjust anything right now. Let's see, base, resolution, output, scale. Oh, so it even this is a video, guys. It even scaled this. Dang it. Oh, it did. Dang it. Okay, well, that's what I get for switching from OBS to Streamlabs. Okay. Give me a second, guys. I'll be right back.